Good evening, everyone. My name is John Tully. I'm Deputy Commissioner with the Putnam County Highway Department. Thank you for attending the meeting this evening on Brook Road over Canopus Creek Bridge Replacement, PIN number 8762.13. If I could kindly ask you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Alexis Hawley to give some introductory comments and hand off to our consultants for their presentation. Alexis?
Yes, thank you, John. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the public information meeting this evening, Tuesday, August 24th, for Brook Road over Canopus Creek Bridge Replacement, PIN 8762.13. Tonight, we will be presenting an overview of the project and the project objectives, and then opening the meeting to any questions and comments that you may have. At this time, I'd like to introduce you to Luke and our design team from Creighton Manning for a review of the project.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Tully. I will try to share my screen if I can be able to do that.
Okay, we're just going to switch you to the host so you can share.
Okay, can you guys see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. So we will formally open the public information meeting for PIN 8762.12, Brook Road over Canopus Creek, located in the town of Phillipston, Putnam County, New York. Purpose of this public information meeting is to outline the purpose, use, and benefit to be served by the project, the location of the project, the reasons for the selection of that location, the general effect of the project on the environment and the residents of the town of Phillipston and the county of Putnam. For this presentation, I will cover the background information on the project and how it has come to be. We will present design objectives of the project, how the project is being funded. We will review design alternatives that were evaluated by the county and ultimately discounted for various reasons. We will describe the preferred alternative in some detail and why it was chosen by the county as the preferred alternative. We'll recap, and then we will take our public comments and questions for the record. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be available from the county website at www.putnamcountyny.gov/highway projects. Additionally, various documents will be made available to the public for examination by appointment and with adherence to proper health protocols at the Office of the County Executive and at the Office of the Putnam County Clerk. Any person who would like to examine these records should contact the county office at 845-808-1142, extension 49301 to make an appointment. Following tonight's session, members of the public are also invited to submit written comments or other documents relating to the proposed project. Your written comments and documents should be addressed to the Commissioner of Highways at the department's office at 842 Fair Street, Carmel, New York, 10512, or email to sproutbrook.publichearing@putnamcountyny.gov. These written comments and documents will be included in the record of this hearing. The notice of tonight's public information meeting was published in the county's weekly newspapers. In addition to publishing the notice of the meeting in the newspapers, the county mailed notices to property owners, the town, and schools potentially impacted by the proposed public project. Also available tonight for public inspection is a copy of the draft design report prepared by Creighton Manning, who was retained by the county to design and oversee the project. It includes many of the technical details relating to the project, including the scope and evolution, alternatives, and environmental matters that were considered. The design report is broken into 3 chapters and supporting appendices. Chapter 1 provides an executive summary which summarizes the needs and objectives of the project with anticipated impacts and mitigation measures. It explains the two alternatives that were considered and dismissed and which alternative was ultimately identified as a preferred alternative. It also provides high-level cost estimates and a summary of public involvement to date. Chapter 2 includes a history of the project and surrounding land uses. It also documents the existing transportation infrastructure that is in place. Chapter 3 details impacts and associated mitigation and permitting requirements the project may have on social, economic, and environmental considerations. Lastly are the appendices, which include backup material that was used to compile various components of the design report. The PowerPoint presentation prepared for tonight's public meeting, which is currently being presented, contains the technical information on the corridor and will be available on the website. In addition, the audio-visual recording of the public meeting will be available at the office of the Putnam County Executive and the office of the Putnam County Clerk. Finally, all written public comment submissions received by the county will be collectively entered into the hearing meeting record. So with that, we'll transition into the technical portion of the presentation. So to introduce our project team, from Putnam County DPW is Fred Penna, the commissioner who will oversee the overall project. Zen Wojcik, who is the federally funded program manager, is responsible for the day-to-day operations at the county for the project, and Joe Bellucci is the project manager. Creighton Manning Engineering is the design consultant retained by the county. Myself, Luke Thompson, am the project manager responsible for the overall design of the project. And with me as well is Alex Brown, our lead structural engineer, and Anessa Bengu, our assistant project engineer. Tom Height of RK Height and Company is handling the right-of-way and property acquisitions for the project. And finally, Steve McCavery from New York State DOT is our local projects unit liaison, who will oversee the project and act as a reviewer to ensure federal requirements are met. So currently we're completing our preliminary design phase of the project. So we'll cover the following items through our presentation. So the project is funded through a competitive grant program known as Bridge NY. 95% of the funds come from the federal government, and the county provides a 5% match to those funds. The funding is routed through New York State DOT, which oversees the project to ensure that federal guidelines are met for that funding. We'll go through our design approval document, which is the design report that is available, the project identification needs and objectives. We will review our preliminary engineering so far, such as the location and geometry of the project, structural considerations, utility and drainage issues, right-of-way impacts, and the project costs. And through our preliminary engineering, we'll discuss the NEPA and SECR process, including environmental, social, and economic considerations, and conclude with the evaluation and comparison of our design alternatives. Also, prior entering into the final design phase, the design approval document must receive design approval by the Department of Transportation, which we expect to occur within 1 to 2 months of this meeting. So the project is located at Brook Road at the intersection of Winston Lane and the town of Phillipston in Putnam County, New York. The bridge is identified as bin 3345690, which is Sprout Brook Road over Canopus Creek. So as mentioned, the existing bridge carries Sprout Brook Road over the Canopus Creek, currently 27-foot long, steel multi-girder superstructure with reinforced concrete deck on existing concrete abutments. Originally built in 1935, last underwent a major rehab in 1958. The latest bridge inspection report from April 2020 indicates some pretty severe deterioration in multiple areas of the bridge. The underside of the concrete deck is spalling and the reinforcing is exposed over approximately 80% of the deck area. The exposed rebar is starting to corrode. The asphalt wearing surface on top of the deck exhibits cracking over 50% of the roadway. The steel superstructure consists of 10 girders, 2 of which were added to widen the bridge, and multiple girders have corrosion holes in the web, with one girder having up to 60% of the girder experiencing section loss. And a yellow flag, which is a structural flag issued by the bridge inspections team, was issued for that condition. The reinforced concrete abutments are not aligned very well with the flow of the Canopus Creek, and that misalignment has resulted in abrasion along the water line at both abutments. They also have spalling above the water line, significantly at the left corner of one abutment, where it undermines the bearing by almost 40%. And a yellow flag was also issued for that condition. So with 2 yellow flags issued and a severe section loss of the bridge, it is currently posted for 18 tons for safe vehicle traffic. So here's some existing site conditions. You can see how the stream is somewhat misaligned with the abutments, causing erosion of the stream banks, as well as abrasion of the abutment concrete and undermining of the abutment footings along the edge of the foundations. These pictures show the issues with the structural yellow flags issued during the bridge inspection, holes in the webs of the girders, the deterioration of the concrete deck, and overall condition rating is now 3.897, which indicates the bridge is not functioning as designed due to the deterioration, and it is currently load posted for 18 tons. On top of the bridge, there is a pedestrian path, but that path is not ADA compliant, meaning it does not comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. The bridge is narrower than the approach roadway, and the geometry adjacent to the intersection of Winston Lane is also a safety concern. The shoulders on the bridge are only 1 foot, and so they are not usable by pedestrians in this configuration. So based on this, our project goals are as follows. We want to restore the bridge to a condition rating of 5 or greater so that the bridge remains fully functional for 75 years. We want to use cost-effective techniques to minimize life cycle cost of maintenance and repair, improve the hydraulic opening and alignment of the Canopus Creek, which would reduce the scour vulnerability and mitigate the chance of any roadway flooding. We want to address the geometric deficiencies at the intersection of Winston Lane and Brook Road, which will improve traffic flow and safety at the intersection. And we must use a design consistent with the New York State DOT standards. So we considered 3 alternatives in our design. The do nothing or the null alternative is what we use for a basis of comparison. So with the do nothing alternative, we maintain the existing structure, roadway, intersection, and stream geometry. None of the deficiencies would be addressed or corrected, which would result in continued deterioration of the existing structure, which would ultimately lead to further load posting restrictions and possibly eventual closure of the roadway at the structure. Due to the inherent issues with the do nothing alternative, it was eliminated from consideration for this project. So then we considered 2 further alternatives, which is alternative 1 is a full bridge replacement, and alternative 2 is a bridge rehabilitation. And we'll go through those 2 alternatives now to show you how we came up with our preferred alternative for a full replacement. So a full bridge replacement is alternative 1. With a new bridge structure, the proposed roadway section will consist of 2 10-foot lanes and 2 5-foot shoulders, would allow for pedestrian use on either shoulder over the bridge and on the approach roadway. The new structure would likely consist of a 3-sided concrete frame, and we can align that radially with the stream, which will address the current misalignment of the stream and also reduce future erosion and scour. The complete bridge replacement alternative will also propose to improve the geometric deficiencies at the intersection with Brook Road and Winston Lane, which will improve traffic flow and facilitate safe traffic operations. So a proposed plan for a complete bridge replacement would look like this. The intersection would be realigned closer to 90 degrees as it approaches Brook Road, and the 3-sided arch will be aligned radially with the stream, so it would follow the same curve that the stream does. The length of the bridge will be approximately 28 feet, and with the 3-sided arch, the smooth interior of the structure maximizes hydraulic capacity And the precast elements reduce construction time by eliminating curing times of a concrete deck and other methods. And this type of structure requires minimal maintenance efforts for the life cycle of the bridge. And also you can see the shaded areas above and below are proposed property impacts, which we will discuss later. A typical section of a proposed bridge for the replacement would have a clear width now of 30 feet with the two 10-foot lanes and 5-foot shoulders, which is about 10 feet, an increase of about 10 feet over the existing structure, and it would allow pedestrian use along each shoulder. We would also upgrade the guide rail to current New York State DOT standards. So this shows the proposed section of the bridge, and the proposed elevation would appear as shown. The structure will be supported on foundations on bedrock, which through borings was determined to be around 8 to 13 feet deep. And the bridge transition rail will extend to standard box beam guide rail on either side of the bridge and around the intersection with Winston Lane. Alternative 2, which was our bridge rehabilitation alternative, it would accomplish the project objectives, would require a complete replacement of the existing steel beam and concrete deck superstructure, and it would require extensive repairs of the spalled concrete abutments, as well as modifications of the abutments to accept the new superstructure. It would improve the condition rating to 5 and extend the surface life, but overall it doesn't accomplish the objective, as the abutment footings will continue to be exposed and undermined due to the continued misalignment of the stream. And ultimately the bridge would need to be replaced within about 40 years, so it does not meet the 75-year life cycle. I'll turn it over to Alex for some environmental impacts.
Thanks, Luke. So during our preliminary design of our project here, we've done some investigations of our impacts on the environment as required due to federal funding. What I've listed on the slide are some major environmental interests that we have to look at. At the federal level, this project needs to complete the federal environmental approval worksheet document. And that documents the potential impacts of various environmental issues. This project is anticipated to be a NEPA Class A or a Class Action 2 CE, which means the actions of this project do not individually or cumulatively have a significant effect on the human environment. At the state level, which is similar to the federal NEPA, the state level, this project again needs to be documented for its potential impacts of various environmental issues. As part of the process, Putnam County, who's going to be the lead agency for this review, is tentatively classifying this project as a type 2 action, which like the Class Action 2 CE, this type 2 individually or cumulatively will not have a significant impact on the human environment. Another environmental issue that we need to look at are for wetlands in the project area or near our project area. We had the site screened by our subconsultant OSPA. So they've been out there to look for wetlands, and we have not found wetlands for this to occur within this project. Another area we need to look at is for endangered species at the federal level and the state level. We flagged Indiana bats and bog turtles as being likely to occur in the area. But through coordination with a number of agencies, FHWA, NISDOT, and New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, we've determined that this project will not have any adverse effects on endangered species. Another environmental concern is stormwater management during construction. This project is anticipated to impact around 0.12 acres of land. By state regulation and law for state pollutant discharge elimination system permit, we're under 1 acre of disturbance, so we're not required to treat stormwater for this project. As part of like the last phase of environmental review, just before this project can be constructed, we need to attain permits from New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers. Both agencies will look at our project in greater detail and into our construction methods and just, confirm and work with us to make sure that this project is affecting the environment in the least possible way. Some issues with our project, well, not issues per se, but in the area, we do have some utilities. We have an electric line owned by Central Hudson Gas and Electric, and it's communication lines owned by Altice. There's one pole at the intersection of Winston Lane and Sprout Brook that will be in the way of the new structure. And so that pole will need to be relocated by Central Hudson, and also too, the lines are probably close to the new structure. So during erection, to maintain a 10-foot buffer to the power lines, we'll have to move the lines to be further away. Drainage in the area, there are a number of drainage structures and pipes just feeding the runoff from off the road to the creek below. This project will maintain the similar layout that's out there currently, but will replace pipes or upgrade structures as needed. We have also investigated the potential impacts of this project to the surrounding properties. And on our slide here, you can see some of the properties that have been identified as being affected by this project. There are laws in place that establish a process that has to be followed for the county to obtain any additional right-of-way needed for this project. I believe at this point, all affected properties have been contacted by our right-of-way specialist, RK Height. And any concerns or questions about this process can be directed to them. For construction, it's anticipated that a complete closure of the roadway will be done so that the bridge can be constructed in one phase. With the road being closed, we're going to propose a off-site detour to maintain traffic around the site. The proposed detour is approximately 3 miles long from one side of the bridge to the other side, and will utilize Winston Lane, Highland Drive, and String Lane to reach Brook Road. The duration of the detour is anticipated to be approximately 3 to 4 months for construction. Now I'll be turning the presentation back to Luke.
Thanks, Alex. So as we mentioned, the bridge is funded through the Bridge NY competitive grant program. So 95% of the funds will come through the federal government, and the county will provide that 5% match, and all the funds will be delivered through the Department of Transportation. So alternative one, which is a complete bridge replacement, meets all the objectives. And so that is our preferred alternative. We did do high-level cost estimates for both alternative one and alternative two. Alternative one for the full bridge replacement is approximately 1.09 million, whereas a bridge rehabilitation would be 0.9 million. So in order for the county to receive the federal funding reimbursement, all required steps must be followed from design through construction. So our next steps is we will take public comments until September 7th. We will review and respond to the comments and make any necessary changes to our design approval document. So as I said, right now we're between preliminary design and detailed design phases. So prior to the detailed design phase, we must receive design approval from DOT, which once we submit our design approval document, we expect to be within a month or two. So when the project moves into detailed design, the plans and right-of-way acquisitions will be progressed further. Permitting applications will be submitted. These tasks will occur up to spring 2022, at which point we will submit the project to DOT for final design review. After their review, the plans will be finalized in the summer of 2022, when the project will be submitted to DOT to obtain authorization to advertise the project for construction. Construction letting is expected to occur in the fall of 2022, with construction expected to start in the spring of 2023 and completed in the fall of 2023. So that concludes the technical portion of the public information meeting. An important aspect of this meeting is receiving comments and questions from the general public regarding the project. For people attending this meeting on Zoom, prior to the meeting, you're provided an opportunity to register as a participant and indicate if you are interested in providing verbal comment tonight. And I believe the county has allotted 3 minutes for each individual at this meeting. All statements and comments received will be addressed by the project team, and written responses to comments received will be posted on the county website as necessary. With that, I'd like to turn the public comment portion back to the county and Deputy Commissioner Tully.
Thank you, Luke, Alex, and the Creighton Manning design team for the presentation and your time this evening. We appreciate it. I would now like to open the meeting for any questions or comments that those in attendance may have. We will start with anyone attending via Zoom electronically. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment or ask a question? Okay, if anyone attending in person has any questions or comments, I'm remote this evening, so if someone can manage the questions in person, that would be great. Are there any questions or comments from anyone in attendance?
Alexis, we do have some participants here in the auditorium with us this evening. I'll ask them to.
Okay.
Sorry. Please state your name, sir, and
Ed and Nia at 394 Brook Road.
go ahead and.
And the couple of questions. First one, I think you already answered. We know what the timetable is. The next one is, what kind of an impact are we expecting on our property? We know that there'll be some impact, but we really haven't gotten any kind of clear, defined answer. I know you need a temporary easement. How big is that easement? And what kind of damage and restoration are we expecting? Does anybody know that?
Yes. We do have the property impacts. Let me go back to the slide with our property impacts.
Yeah, the impacts for the temporary easement are more so for construction access. The current bridge is pretty close to the highway boundary, and to remove that structure and get down to the footing, the excavation limits are anticipated to go over the highway boundary into the neighboring property. So there'll be some excavation near the bridge and then some construction access of the vehicles to that spot. At the end of construction, all the land disturbed will be filled in and regraded to the original grade that it was at. And it'll be reseeded and all vegetation will be established again. If there's anything like a fence or something that was disturbed, that will be put back the way it was before as well. So with the temporary easement, the final outcome should be complete restoration of how your property originally was afterwards.
Yeah, and just to clarify, there will be no permanent features built in the temporary easement.
Right.
All the permanent features will be in the county right away. The temporary easement is access to build those permanent features.
I had a slide that's showing me like a pink, obviously that's our property. That pink area looks to be pretty long and fairly well set back from the edge of the road. So that's a substantial area that you're talking about. Plus, there's a wood fence that was just put up, just restored, all along the top of that hill. So what I see is you're taking all of that down and you're kind of messing up the whole front of the property. Am I right?
If I can.
Sure,
Okay.
please.
Suzanne Loki. The property, the highway boundary line, the county's property ends at this point behind the roadway.
Right.
So that's why that additional one is back there.
Yeah.
That is all within your property. Yeah, I saw that the fence is gonna be a problem, so we will take down the fence. We can either have a contractor restore the fence, or we can.
Is that white line
That's
the
that white
fence?
line is your fence.
So, and the pink line is the easement.
Pink line is the easement.
So
it
that's
goes
a
right
lot of
through it.
property.
Yeah, it's a
That's
lot
where
of
the equipment will be operating and all.
We'll be coming in and out.
Can I just ask our consultants just to
That's a lot.
briefly describe the process that you're going to go through from this point forward with the property owners and the opportunities that they're going to have to discuss the different options that are available, and explain how their property is going to be impacted. Is Tom on the line possibly to talk about the right of
Tom
way?
White was invited, and I believe he is on. Tom, if you'd be willing to answer.
Yeah.
Sure. This is Tom here. Basically what we're doing right now in the process is all the impacted areas are being appraised and that, so we can determine just compensation for the areas. We'll be looking at the temporary easements and the fee acquisitions. In your case, it's only a temporary easement that'll be there, the pink area, which runs along the existing highway boundaries. Yeah, but that'll be some point down the road, as these guys talked about the design report and that. When they receive that, we also receive authorization to proceed with acquisition, excuse me on that. And then at that point, we'll present everybody with offer documents and sit down with you and go over everything, what we're looking to acquire. And if there's questions I can't answer, I'll reach out to the team here, such as specifics of, what type of equipment, how long the duration will be, excuse me, and things like that.
Of
Thanks,
pink
Tom.
that we're looking at the map.
You want to repeat?
So also to clarify, when we move into construction, there is a pre-construction documentation phase where we will document with pictures the existing conditions of your property. The actual locations of the temporary easement will be surveyed by a surveyor. So we will, and that area will be fenced to protect the other property from any disturbance. Like I said, photographs, other documentation. We've taken videos of properties if needed, so that we can make sure that it is restored to satisfactory condition of the property owner.
Okay, so at that point, then I'll have an actual dimension. Somebody will be showing me where this easement will be, correct?
It'll be-
Yes, our surveyors have just finished creating draft maps for the temporary easement, and those are being reviewed by RK Height. And as we move forward in design, that information will be relayed to all the property owners.
Yeah, and I'll be forwarding
when
those
do you-
out next week.
Oh, when do you think that'll happen?
Tom, can you repeat that?
When do you think that'll happen?
Yeah, I'm in the process of reviewing them, and I'll go back to Luke for final corrections and that. And then once that's completed, everything looks good so far, but no later than the first of next week, I'll be mailing those out or emailing them out to each of the individual owners. And then we can discuss the acquisition maps, and you'll have a better idea than just with the general plans that were originally sent out with the introductory letters and that for the project.
Okay, and we'll have an opportunity to comment at that point also.
All the way through.
I don't want to close the. door,
Correct.
You know,
All the way through.
what were you saying, Dave? Oh, yeah, so we do have other issues other than,
So we'll have,
there's sprinkler system, I think there's a hidden dog wire fence in there, there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so we'll deal with it, is what you're saying.
absolutely.
Any other questions that you folks have?
I believe the question that was asked is, will there be construction equipment in the pink area? I think that's the intent of the temporary easement, right, for construction equipment?
Yes, that having the temporary easement would allow the contractor use of that private property just solely for the construction of the project. So there is a high probability there would be construction equipment or materials in that area.
And so are you saying you're gonna store the equipment there, or you're just gonna drive down that access road to work and then take the equipment out?
I think we can say that we're not gonna have anything stored there overnight.
Yeah,
You know, the plans, and that'll be that.
yeah. we could say-
Okay.
It's gonna be a nightmare.
This is not a nightmare.
Yeah.
This is,
Only for us.
this is Zen's card. If you have any questions,
Okay.
if for some reason you don't get Zen,
And
this
this
is, this is me.
Great. Okay, appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it very much. Renee, did you have a question also? Renee's also a neighbor, could possibly be affected by this, not on the corners. She'll explain.
We have another question being answered. Ma'am, please just state your name and ask your question.
Renee DeVito. The property that Louis Sierra, we have a water pipe that goes through his property and goes under and through the stream and up the other property into the house of Lombardi. It's pretty close to
Yeah.
that construction. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, we were aware. Matter of fact, we had a long conversation about that water pipe.
Go,
I asked these
okay.
guys to find out who owned that water pipe. I'm glad you came.
Tell them the whole story.
They know, I
Well,
guess.
there's a
Water
water-
district
there's a
ends
water
on the
main.
other side. That's the problem.
As far as I know, in that whole area, there were a couple of houses that one of the houses had a well that supplied water to Lombardi, my house. And then when the district, the water district put in the water line, then they just turned it around and
So
hooked
is
it
it
up to
still-
that.
Is it still useful?
Oh, yes.
All right, so it's like a community water. It's your house and the two others.
Well, no, right now it's just two houses.
Two houses.
About the well, they wouldn't let us.
Yeah, so this summer, I want to talk to somebody to put in a well. They said I couldn't turn off town water to put in a well.
That's typically you're in a district, so that's not a county thing, that's the town. thing.
Right.
So I have to look that over to Phil.
No, they said well, New York State wouldn't let me do it.
That, we're quite, a lot of these things
Probably
are health
because you're in
department.
a, because you're in a,
You sure you're in a district
established,
for that?
you're in an
Right.
established.
So then what my point is that if what happens to that water line is some of your equipment or
We
something,
will not, we will try not to damage it.
right?
If it's damaged, it's gonna have to be fixed, but we're certainly gonna preserve it. Because
Okay.
we rely upon that, and other people rely upon it for water.
Ended
So,
on the other
okay.
side of the bridge.
So, Luke, you wrote that down, right?
Yes, yeah, we have that noted, and I will be placing a call to the town tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you.
So you know where the water pipe is?
Yeah, we could see the pipe in the ground,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the
Good.
stream, and it was like, well, what is that pipe? And they were looking, and I guess they didn't look under the right rock, so we'll find it.
Okay, all
I can
right,
show you
sure.
exactly where it was. We had to put it
Yeah.
in PVC pipe.
I had a friend that owned a house with the same thing, he and his neighbor shared a well, and they had a pipe in between that, and it was an unusual.
It's really
arrangement.
ridiculous.
Yes.
And all that, yeah.
Well, I'm
Zen,
glad you
can
knew.
we just get it on a map and make sure that it's identified for
That's- I
for
just
the
asked you,
contractor
what's
and the
taken
consultants? And that any comments that they have with regard to the water supply, we address those as part of the project.
Absolutely. yeah.
Great,
Absolutely, yes.
thank
One
you.
other question I have is if it's somehow broken?
It'll be fixed.
Okay,
but we won't have any water until.
right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it'll be fixed as
Fixed.
quickly as humanly possible.
Okay.
I mean, water mains, you don't want to mess around.
right.
And I mean, there's certainly, there are situations when a water main is taken out of service and then they keep moving it around.
Right.
And they provide, sometimes you'll see like a water tanker come by and provide you with temporary water supply.
Oh,
That's a worst case scenario. I mean, I hope we identify where it is. It'll be on the plans. The contractor will know it's there. We'll have notations about do not break this pipe.
right.
You
The
Restore it.
poor old lady over here won't know what to
No,
do. You
no,
break that pipe.
The poor old man over in Carmel. and
Are there,
I did have one.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's up-
I'm
So
sorry.
like that, I must.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
We have one more question.
Okay, so what's happening, you're gonna widen the abutment on the bridge, realign it to the stream, which will cause the stream to flow better. That's
go
the
the way it's
theory.
supposed to go.
Okay.
Yes.
What's happening then is you would actually be widening the opening
Yeah.
for the stream. What's been happening with that stream over the course of the past 10 years, and I don't know if it was caused by beavers upstream or something, but the flow has been greatly reduced, causing large land masses to start developing on the sides of the stream banks. And pretty soon they're going to be connecting from both sides. That never happened. I've been there for 42 years. That didn't happen in the first 32 years. It's been slowly happening now. As you widen that bridge and the water slows down, that sediment is going to collect even faster.
At the bridge, it's a pretty rocky bottom, as you know.
Yes, over there is not a problem.
You
What
were
about
telling me this on the phone, and I was wondering, is it accumulating upstream of the bridge?
just, I would say about 20 feet upstream, you'll find your first accumulation. Another 20, 30 feet where the stream really bends is a big one.
Okay.
And that's where we have some problems.
That's
It's going to get bad.
That's like, it's a DEC issue because it's touching the stream.
Yeah.
It's outside the limits of this project, so it's nothing we can really do with
Right.
it. We don't own the property.
Well, I know that since you're going to be working basically in the stream with DEC permits,
Yeah,
seems to me,
Let's,
That's logical.
let's note the comment, and if there's anything that can be done, we'll get back to the.
yeah, I just think because it's going wider means it's going to slow down the flow. It's going to amplify that problem.
well, like Mr. Tully says, we will see.
We'll
what we
know
I
can
got
do.
faith in you.
If there's something, like I said, the intent here is that the county, its consultants, and whoever the contractor is that we hire, the intent is to be as good a neighbor as we can throughout the construction process.
Right.
That's our goal. We'll do our best to achieve that. And hear your comments this evening might help us do that a little bit better. So we appreciate you being here.
Okay.
And that's the best we can offer at this point in time in the process. You have Zen's contact information.
I do.
You can direct questions to him or the address that's on the handout. There's a Brook Road one-page
Yeah,
summary.
my wife.
There's an email address. There's how many days, Alexis, for the
September 7th.
We have until September 7th.
September 7th? So if something comes up, you ride home, if you're thinking about this again, or something that you didn't ask, that you would like to ask, get that comment in as soon as possible on our website, and we'll do our best to respond to that.
Good.
So, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much.